let's take a look at one of the key NFC games coming up this weekend. It's an NFC West matchup, Arizona at Seattle. Seattle 6.5 at home. Total of 42. Home field has meant a lot in this series, 11-5 against the spread. The home team is. Possible NFC playoff preview. Arizona Cardinals, they're on the road after a 2-game homestand with a new quarterback. These teams are going to meet twice in the next 5 weeks, and that's key as Arizona has a comfortable 3-game lead, but this could make it interesting if Seattle can get a victory here. Arizona's just doing everything right, 9-1 straight up, 8-2 against the spread. In fact, they've been undervalued for a while, 20-7 spread run. The offense, they can't run the football, 30th in rushing. They're 11th in passing. However, Harvard, they have a brand new quarterback.
Well, I mean, I don't know if he's brand new. I think, what is he, 3-1 so far this year, behind center. But let me tell you one thing. The Cardinals are for real. You see this hat right here? That's a Cardinal. That's right there. They're for real. Here's my announcement. There is no big, bad Seattle Seahawk team, at least for this year. There's trouble in the big house. Pete Carroll, you know what? He's a great front runner. He's a rah-rah. He's he's pom-poms on the sideline. He's not an in-your-face type coach. And you know what? When you need to get people to produce, you got to get in their face. You got to grab that face mask. I don't think he's the right guy for that job. Couple things on this game. Arizona, they can't rush the ball. So how does that work out? That means they have to pass. But who are they passing into? A very good secondary for Seattle. Seattle, they're number 30 in passing. So what do? They rush the ball, but Arizona, they're number 3 against the run. So Wilson can't pass. Lynch, maybe he won't be able to run. So I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of scoring in this game. In fact, write this down. If you see any more than 6-3, 10-6 maximum at the first half, write me. Yell at me, scream at me, use curse words and all that stuff. Arizona, they've had 10 sacks in the last 2 games. And Seattle, they are ranked number, 32 at getting to the quarterback. So I don't think there's going to be much offense or anything like that. I got 2 plays for you, actually. The under 42, that's probably my strongest of the 2. And Arizona plus 6.5. They're 9-1. Their defense, if nothing alone, defense will get it against teams that have trouble scoring. Take the plus 6.5. Take the under 42. And here's a question I got for John. When was the last time we saw a total in the 30s? Have we seen a total in the 30s this year? I remember 20, 30 years ago where almost every total was 37, 38, 39. And there would be some this time of year because of the weather, like up in Buffalo where they just got 2 feet of snow yesterday. It might get down to 32, 33.5. I don't remember this year seeing a total in the 30s, but this one's under 42, so let's smack it.
Yeah, you don't see that anymore with the rules changes and all the offense. Although with the weather being bad last week, we saw 10-4 under the total with the NFL. So that's something to keep in mind.
Exactly, that's my whole point. A lot of the football thing. Yes, there's some different rules and all that stuff. But when you start looking at these totals that are between 42 and 49 and then in the 50s, yeah, if they got a strong quarterback, yes. But if it's a little bit less than that, like these 2 teams right now, these 2 quarterbacks aren't anything to write home about. So with a great defense, I think you can see this thing really fly under.
Yeah, this Seattle team has just a phenomenal spread record, like Arizona, but theirs goes back over 3 years, 39-21-1 against the spread. However, it hasn't happened for this season. They're 6-4 straight up, 4-6 against the spread. And when you look at the team, Harvard mentioned how great the defense is. The offense is kind of one-dimensional here. They're 30th in the NFL in passing, number 1 in rushing. That's what they do, and that was kind of evident Sunday, a 24-21 loss at Kansas City. They had a nice edge in yards, and they also had 204 yards rushing. They won the turnover battle 2-0. Normally, that's plenty for Seattle to win, but they couldn't quite get there. So, Zach, what to make of the defending champs here?
Just keep buying against them because we're getting value each and every week. It's one of the teams I've stayed away from, Seattle Seahawks. Either way, I think there's 1 or 2 games this year that I played for or against them. The Arizona Cardinals have been one of the teams I've talked about probably 3 weeks in a row on this show, and I'm glad it's one of those shows we're talking about this week, matchups we're talking about this week, because I'm going to say it's going to be like a recorder, the Arizona Cardinals plus the points. Odds makers are not going to adjust. How can you have a 9-1 team? It'd be a difference if they were 3-1 4-2, something or another. This team's covered 8 of 9 games against the spread, and you're going to get 7 points now. I'm seeing it jump to 7 on online right now, but 7 points from a team that has the best offensive mind in football, Bruce Arians, best defensive coordinator in football, Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles just got a 3-year extension on his contract. He has best secondary. You think Seattle has the best secondary? They were maybe a year or two ago, but you're seeing the guy from on New England now, Shadow, did a real good job. Browner did a real good job on Sunday Night Football, and they really haven't had any key plays. When's the last time you've seen Richard Sherman make a key play this year? It hasn't happened. But with the Cardinals, going back to their secondary, they have Antonio Cromartie and Patrick Peterson. And I hate to say it, but I think they have a better secondary. Plus, they've got Tyrann Mathieu at safety. I forget the other safety off the top of my head, but they've got a better secondary than the Seattle Seahawks. Their defensive line's playing great, and Todd Bowles is making great second half adjustments. This team has not allowed more than 17 points in the fourth quarter over the last 8 games, besides that loss to the Denver Broncos. So 17 points, and their defense alone in the fourth quarter has scored 21 points. So what does that tell you? They're doing more than their offense is doing at times. So Arizona +7 is the bargain of the week. I don't care if people are waiting for that free fall to happen. It's not going to happen yet. Drew Stanton, he did make 2 awful picks against the Lions that people are going to have in the back of their mind, thinking this with Seattle's defense being this great, yada, yada, yada. But Bruce Arians will adjust, and Drew Stanton's been in the league long enough to not let those 2 throws affect him. And the Cardinals, it's just phenomenal what they're doing. Michael Floyd finally had 2 touchdowns last week. Larry Fitzgerald, he's going to play with that MRI, came back not any issues with his knee, so he'll be out on the field, and I just like them to keep covering. Might be another money line special.
All right, I'm going to
Hey, John, let me interrupt just 1 second. You know, last week I had mentioned on this show, and also wrote a column for one of the big publications that goes around, about Todd Bowles. I was mentioning that this has to be Arizona's year because they get to play in Phoenix if they make the Super Bowl. But the second thing was this might be the last time you see him because somebody is going to grab that guy. And isn't it ironic, within 3 or 4 days after I mentioned that, they signed him to a long-term deal. And one thing that Zach was also saying about how these guys are always in the game, I went back, and if you look at the first 10 games or every game, going into the fourth quarter, they're the only team by far that has been within 7 points in every single game playing into the fourth quarter. So that's another thing that's going to sit there and say, hey, they can get to the fourth quarter covering, and then that's when they end up taking over.
I think one last thing to add to that too that I should have mentioned just a few seconds ago, but then you've got team imbalance with the Seattle Seahawks. They had the Percy Harvin issue earlier this year. Marshawn Lynch didn't even come into the locker room at halftime with his teammates, and he's still 30% of their offense. So Todd Bowles is licking his chops right now.
Yeah, the defense keeps you in games, especially on the road, and Arizona certainly has this. I'm going to take a look at the total. We got some rainy weather forecast in Seattle. Not good weather for the game. Arizona defense, 3rd against the run, which is what Seattle does, as Harvard mentioned. Seattle defensive numbers are very good. They're 6-2 under the total at home. They face a team with a winning record. They're 7-3 under the total. These teams last met late last season on this field. It was a 17-10 game, and that's part of a 5-1 run under the total on this field between these 2 teams.
That was an outright runner, right?
That's right. As the dog, yeah, they were big dog, and Arizona pulled the upset, over the champs.